How's it going, guys? Jake here with NFTPlazas with actually a pretty hype guest, honestly. We didn't think we'd get you, so this is pretty exciting.
Let's go.
Frank DeGods. So, a lot of people probably already know who you are. So for the people that don't, tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of what you are about.
Yeah, hey, my name is Frank. I run 2 NFT projects, DeGods and Utes, and they're going to be the biggest projects in the world by the end of this year.
Yeah. One thing you were talking about, which I thought was really interesting, is the Bitcoin NFTs.
Yeah.
Right. So can you talk a little bit about that and kind of where you see that going?
Yes, I think it's a no-brainer. I think people are overthinking it. Bitcoin's the biggest cryptocurrency in the world. People are going to want digital NFTs, artifacts, collectibles that are on the Bitcoin blockchain. And so we saw that very, very early on, mined an entire block for our DeGods, 535, and minted them a few days ago. And 535 Bitcoin DeGods, and I think those are going to be the fucking grails to get on Bitcoin. So yeah, it's pretty sick.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And something we were talking about a little bit before, which I think is really interesting, in that you kind of bit of an underdog story. You were grinding, didn't see much success or much luck. 6 months in, kind of took off. Can you, the people that are grinding out here, haven't seen much success yet, kind of some words of inspiration or anything that you were telling yourself just to get through that time?
Yeah, I think that what you really want to do is find your core. If you have an NFT project, you got to find that core group of people. For us, it was really maybe by the time things were really sliding down, 20 to 30 people, and really lock in with them and figure out what gets them excited, make things to get those people excited, and then just keep doing that. And I think you have to just have a high bar. People in NFTs, for no fucking reason, have this ridiculously high standard that they hold all of these projects to. And you can complain about it, or you can try to figure out how to work around that standard and launch things to get those people excited. So I think it's really about listening a lot more than it is about trying to tell people what you're doing. And I think a lot of people make that mistake, especially when things are bad. That's the time not to shill your stuff and try to tell everyone what you're doing, but listen and come up with a game plan that you think is actually going to drive a lot of growth.
Yeah, no, awesome. And how'd you get your first few clients or your first few NFT purchasers? How'd you get your first few people to
Twitter,
buy your stuff?
Just organic growth on Twitter. I think you just gotta really that's the place where everyone finds out about NFTs. So you gotta lock in and have strong Twitter game. I think it's super important. So we would just tweet a lot about the project, and that was the main way we grew.
I see.
Yeah.
No, very cool. So last thing, because I know you have to go.
Yeah.
How do you get on the talk a lot about Twitter? How'd you get from 0 to 100, 100 to 1,000? How'd you get started?
Yeah, I think the key with Twitter early days is no filter, and I think it's a deep desire of trying to understand what hits. So for me, early days on Twitter, and even now to this day, I just tweet all the time, all day, every day, and I think you learn very quickly what works and what doesn't. How is something clear? Does it make sense? Am I packaging this information in the right way? Is a graphic good? These are things that will start to become second nature. But the only way to do it is you can't skip the process, just to put the reps in. Put out a fuck ton of tweets, see which ones do well. At the end of the day, it's all on a timeline. It's on a news feed. So people aren't going to see your 100 misses. They're only going to see the ones that hit, especially when you're a new account. So I think that is the way to do it. And I think content creators, it's easier to do it in Web3 than any other industry in the world because people are so hungry for good content, and it's not saturated at all. There's not a lot of good content in Web3. So I think that's the strategy, man. Twitter is so important, and to get good at Twitter, you just got to put the reps in, just put out a fuck ton of tweets, and be maniacal about how well they perform, and try to keep getting them to be better.
Yeah. So Frank DeGods, you heard it here first. There's no such thing as an overnight success. He had to work very hard for a very long time to get to where he is today. Bitcoin, interesting. That'll continue to be a trend. And Twitter, just get started. A lot of good stuff.
Great summary. That was fire.